Welcome to Unholy Vibes. It's me, Alex, your one and only host. Same one as last time. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Frankie. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and we can go from there.
Hi guys, I'm Frankie. I run a TikTok account talking about all things horror, true crime, and paranormal, which is how we met each other.
Yeah.
And I've been paranormal investigating professionally for almost 11 years. So I feel like this is the perfect podcast.
Yeah, me too.
It is. I love the format. I love that you do this.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you've listened to any of my episodes, and it's okay if you haven't, but I used to do an anime podcast with one of my buddies for a couple years, and we're on a hiatus right now. Spoiler alert, we're actually looking to start up again here soon. Anyway,
I love it.
yeah, for any fans of the Weeb and the Cash. Anyway, once we started our hiatus, I was like, now is the time for me to start the spooky stuff because I'd been
Oh,
wanting to
yeah.
do it. I'd been wanting to do it for years. So I finally had the time and the motivation because podcasting is a lot of work and
It
doing two
is.
at the same time, it was a lot. There was a
Yeah, that's why
very little overlap.
I'm like, I don't know where to start. So it feels like it's a lot. So I'll take my time getting into that space.
Yeah. And you know what? Like you said, we met on TikTok. You have a great following, you have engagement, you have people coming on telling their stories. I just so
Yeah.
happened I've recorded with two people that I met on your live, by the way, already. I've
Oh,
recorded
that's
with two
so
people.
cool.
Yeah. And I've got even more coming because of them that they've referred me to.
Oh, I
So,
love it.
first of all, blessings. Thank you. It's all it's
Worked out.
it's all your fault. In the
Oh,
best
sorry.
way. No. It's been awesome. So, yeah, we met on a TikTok live because as I was doing, I would get on TikTok at, I don't know, 10:30, 11:30 at night, just kind of scroll through lives. And if you've been listening to the show, anyone who's listening out there, you're going to already know this, but I'm just, this is for us. I go and I ask strangers, have you ever seen a ghost? That's my opener.
I love it.
And a lot of people have ghost stories.
Mhm.
And it could be like a get ready with me makeup tutorial. And I'll be like,
Right.
hey, it's me. Have you ever seen a ghost? And they're like, who are you? But also, yes. And I've had people get really pissed off, like their fans and people that watched for their specific content. They'll be like, what are you doing? This is supposed to be the makeup tutorial. And I'm like, well, we're talking about ghosts now. And
Yes,
I
you
will,
can wait.
yeah,
Sorry, this
I'll
is more
exactly. I'll derail an entire live stream with ghost
that's pretty
talk.
iconic, to be honest. That's awesome.
Oh,
I
I feel so happy when I do it because it'll be like some dude welding or like fixing a car, or it'll be a girl doing makeup or talking about cosplay, or it'll be what are those like the NPC? Those ones
Oh,
are
right, right.
those ones are a little harder to derail. They're pretty committed to the bit, but
They are.
I will go through and just disrupt people's lives because whatever, no matter what you believe, if you've got a story to tell, you want to tell it, right? Does that make sense?
Abs
And so I get on there and that's what I do. Hey, do you have a ghost story? I run a true horror podcast looking for more guests with good stories. And people will go crazy. So this is my second season of this show that
right.
I'm recording for. And half, maybe more than half of my guests this season have been from TikTok. Uh,
That's so
yeah,
that's
it's
such
been
a cool
awesome.
like, just do it. That's so neat.
Yeah. So when I stumbled upon your live, you had someone on, what is it called? Like guest appearing, or what is it called?
It's like the co-host thing. I
Co-host.
still
Yes.
don't know how TikTok works. I just do what I can, and I'm like, "Oh, so you can request," and I somehow managed to figure that out. Like, the first time that I did it, I was only doing, like, true crime lives, and, like, it wasn't getting the, like, interaction, and then I was like, "Let me just try it and see what happens." And so many people came in with so many stories, which was really nice, but it turned into this weird, like, safe space deal for paranormal things because I guess it gave people a place to be like, "Oh, I like, all my friends, like, I won't tell this story to because they won't believe me. I can come on and tell it here because you won't think I'm crazy." And I'm like, "Yep." So it worked
Exactly.
out.
Exactly. And that's the reaction I've found on these lives and on, because it's not just TikTok. I'll do Instagram live, I'll do whatever, right? Twitch. I've disrupted a Twitch streamer too, just a little bit. And people are like, finally, someone's going to ask me about this thing because
Yeah.
they think my friends think I'm crazy. People think I'm crazy when I bring this up. And I'm like, not me. Sometimes me, but not me right now. I want to hear the story because you get people with some stories that you're like, maybe, I don't know. I want to hear it all anyway. So
Yeah.
when I joined your live, you were gracious enough to actually let me join in and tell a couple stories. One of my own, one of my friends who is a previous guest on the show, which that story, it was the red faced man for fans of the show, people who've
Oh,
been listening. Sorry, what was that?
that is such an insane story. Like, that is definitely one of those stories that, like, I was getting used to, like, hearing story, like, night after night after night, like, we would get to a point of I would hear, like, 20 stories in one night, but that is one of the ones that totally stuck with me that, like, I still think about because 'cause I'm like, that entire situation is just nuts,
Yeah. And it's not even supernatural per se. It's real people being terrifying.
which is equally as scary,
People are the
if not
worst.
and paranormal.
Yeah, yeah. Because like I can see this person, they are here, they can hurt me.
Yeah.
And if you've been listening to the show, you know that's why I started this show. That's why I started Unholy Vibes because my friend Taylor told me that story in person like 6 years ago now, and it stuck with me for years. And I was like, we have to do something with it. And so
Yeah.
she was my very first guest, and I actually just recorded with her again. So I've got another episode. She has another
That
story coming our way for season 2. I'll publish it somewhere in there. But anywho, yeah, you were gracious enough to let me come on and tell a couple stories, and I was interacting with all the people in the chat because I loved their stories. They were liking mine,
Yep,
and I told you a story that I've yet to tell my listeners.
I'm honored.
The
I love it.
the dome home in Georgia, that whole thing, and I'm getting there.
That
I will record that and tell that
happened
story this season
with
probably.
me. 'Cause that entire story, beginning to end, was wild. Everything about that situation that I was just like, "That's something I definitely could see myself getting into." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not the only one who would do crazy stuff like that," but, like, that whole situation, like, I feel like you handled it so well that I probably would've, like, peed my pants a little and darted at so, like, kudos to you for that.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't pee my pants is because I had just gone pee. So we were in the
That's fair.
safe zone. So
You made it just in time.
yeah, yeah. So talk to me a little bit more about this. You started with true crime. You wanted people to talk about true crime, and then you were like, let's try supernatural stuff, ghost stories, paranormal. And now you're talking. You said that you do paranormal investigations.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. I think my first ever, like, proper investigation was with a team when I was still in high school. Like, it was just this weird situation of one of my friends, her mom was almost like Batman, where, like, during the day, I think she was a lawyer, and then at night, she was a paranormal investigator, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, and she was, like, my hero. This woman, because I just thought that was so neat, so she took me with her team, and we went to Gettysburg, and that was, like, my first proper investigation. And then since then, I was like joining groups and like doing things with there's a place out here in Jersey called NJ Rope. So I got involved with them, did a ton of investigations with them, and it has just been the wildest experience of my life. I didn't think it was going to be like a long haul situation, but here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lawyer by day, ghost hunter by night. And so, in your journeys, in your paranormal investigations, you said you joined some groups and all of that. So, do you go out and actually go to haunted places often? What does your experience look like?
I haven't done it like super recently, but the original group that I was with was really neat because I had toyed around with a few groups, but at the time, it wasn't as popular as, like, it is now, where, like, everybody on TikTok's doing, like, paranormal investigating and, like, stuff like that. It was much more, like, frowned upon.
Hmm.
So we would do some, like, actual locations, like, we would go to, like, haunted locations, like, there's a place near Philadelphia called Fort Mifflin. It's super haunted, so we got to go there and investigate, and that was really fun. And we would do things with the public, so we would go to different haunted locations and people would pay like 20 bucks to come investigate with us, which was cool because if you don't know how to get into it, like that's a good stepping stone. But they would also do residentials, which that was my favorite because people would literally call and be like, "Hey, my house is super haunted, and we would just show up at their house and be like, let's find the ghosts. And it was wild, but it is
That is
crazy to
awesome.
experience those things and be like, oh my God, like, we get to leave at the end of the day. They don't, they live with that. So
Yeah.
we also tried to offer help, which was cool because most
Yeah.
people just do get the footage and then they're out. Where we're like, oh, well, if you needed help, you want this thing gone, like we can show you the steps. If you don't, that's cool too. Let them hang around. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
You're like, I'm not living here. You do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you. That's on you guys. But I
Give
did
me.
that, and then I also worked for about a year at, I won't say the name of it because I could probably get in trouble, but it is known as America's Most Haunted Tattoo Shop. So that was absolutely insane, paranormal wise. That was the craziest. Like, even after investigating at that point for like 9 years straight, I've never seen anything like this tattoo shop. Like, it was just off the walls 24/7. It was wild.
Will you tell me the name off recording so I can look it up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
What kind of stuff is going on at the most haunted tattoo shop?
It was literally insane. So I just started going there to get tattooed. Like, I didn't intend on working there, and then I did. But, like, even the first time that we had gone there, like, my wife and I, just to get tattooed, it didn't have, like, that negative vibe to it. And then we didn't have any experiences, and you know what? Like, places have their off days. Like, it's not guaranteed. So we were like, "Oh, but it's still really cool. It's very gothic looking. It's just a cool place." So we were leaving there to go to a family party, and our car did this bizarre thing where our GPS, I was trying to play a song on Spotify, and I hit the little microphone button, and I said, "Oh, play whatever song it was." And it was a totally different voice. It sounded like a kid, and it was like, "Sorry, we can't play this right now. Try again later." And I had never heard that voice, and I have not heard it since. So I'm like, "Something follow us home?" Like, it was insane.
Kind of
Like,
like that.
yeah, it was crazy. But I had gotten scratched there. We've seen things move. We've heard whistling. Basically, every level of paranormal activity you can think of, I've experienced in my short time working there. So it was just insane.
Yeah, that is wild. Why did that place end up being so haunted? Was the location? Was there some objects there? Was it the people? What do you think caused such an intense haunting?
I think it was like a really big culmination of things because the location in and of itself was sandwiched between two major highways. And one of the highways I found out when they were building it was there were so many like accidents, just not even with cars, like just with the construction crew at the time. They hired a shaman. They flew a shaman into New Jersey to bless this road because they swore something was going on with this road. Like, and it's next to that road, so I think that could have played a part. There
Interesting.
were probably millions of haunted objects there and like memorabilia from serial killers, so I'm sure that had stuff attached to it.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, I feel like the nature of just tattooing, it's very, when you're getting tattooed, it's pretty vulnerable, and sometimes there's a lot of sadness or a lot of feelings tied to the tattoo that you're getting. So I think it could have been that too. I think it was just like the perfect combination of things. It just made this place off the charts.
Interesting. Yeah, it's the perfect storm of haunting.
Yeah, it was wild.
I want to go see it now. And I've noticed you got some good tats. I don't have any tattoos. While getting tattoos, did you ever have any experiences? Or was it mostly just while working there giving tattoos or whatever?
It was mostly working there, but that's where I had my whole like side of my neck done.
Hmm.
So when I was getting that done, the area of the shop we were in was like right in front of this little room, and then it had steps going upstairs, and that's where all the activity would really happen. And that's like not an easy spot to get tattooed. So like I had my headphones in, like I was prepared. I'm laying there and I'm like on my side and I'm just looking at the stairs, and the entire time I'm seeing we had these like little cat balls that like they're the motion censored ones. So if anything touches it, it lights up.
Hmm.
There were literally points of me getting tattooed that I would look towards the stairs, and there were probably, I would say 5, 7 of them just going off. Like, it literally looked like a disco. It was wild. Just sitting in that chair, you would see shadows, you would hear footsteps upstairs. There was no one upstairs. It was just wild. So, like, it's kind of one of those places that, like I said, it's not really guaranteed. You're there and you're sitting for a long enough time, something's probably going to happen.
Right, right. Okay. That's wild. Okay. let's move on from the tattoo shop. So you went, this was after you had already started your paranormal investigation. You were with the
Oh
group, so
yeah.
you went there, then tattoo shop, and then keep walking us through your life, your whole experience. Let's keep moving along. I want to hear more.
Yeah. So I mean, after that, that kind of forced me back into the paranormal stuff a little bit more because I was like, I'll take a break from it. And then I started working there and I was just so surrounded by it like 24/7. And then my wife and I started collecting like haunted objects, which has been super fun. So we have a ton of stuff around our house that's like haunted. That guy specifically behind me.
I was gonna
Um,
say, what's up with that?
his name's Bozo, and there was a store that we had gone to, and they had like just it was like a horror type store, and we saw him, and I was like, oh, he's cool. And so I asked the owner about him, and the owner was like, oh, he's not really for sale because there's something up with him.
Hmm.
I was like, you could just look and you know that. And I was like, well, what's going on? And he said that he had ring camera footage of inside the shop and he would just move around all night long. And there's evidence of it, like clear as day, ring camera footage of him just scooting across the floor. Like you could tell it was on the Ring app, it hadn't been doctored. And I was like, how much though? Like, I know you're saying, like, oh, but like, we're experienced with stuff like that. So I was like, how much? Like, if you don't want him in the shop, I will happily take him off your hands. So we bought him and we've had like nonstop activity with him since we've had him. He actually has, I don't think you can see it, but he has this little thing called a bullet light. So we put it on a necklace for him and it just hangs, but it's kind of like the flashlight trick that like investigators will use. So the back of the little light just screws on. And if you screw it all the way, its light will turn on.
Yeah.
And then if you unscrew it, it turns off. And I was on a TikTok live one night and I was telling people and I was like, oh, I'll just show him to you. And he was sitting next to me on the couch and like clear as day, his light went on and everybody, all 7 people in my live were like, oh my God, you weren't lying. Like he's haunted. And I was like, yeah, I know.
So
I
let
know.
me ask you this. Could you get a hold of that ring footage?
Oh yeah. If you want it, I think I have it somewhere.
A hundred
But
percent. Yeah. Yeah, I would love that because then I could post it with this episode.
yeah, and then I'll send you too. I have footage of him like because my wife works overnights. So I get stuck with all the haunted objects at night, which is fine, but still. And so he would like what he was pretty quiet when we first got him. And then one night I like was getting ready to go to bed. Like I took my glasses off, lights were off, and his light goes on. And I was like, no way. So I got up and I turned it off, got back in bed, it goes back on. So it was almost this joke of like he knew it was annoying me to continue to get up and turn it on
Hmm.
and off. So I was like, man. And so I took my phone out, I took a video, and I was like, Ben's not here. She's really probably upset that you didn't do this for her. Can you do it one more time? And clear as day on the video, he turned the light right back on. And I was like, thank you. He's very respectable. He's a very nice guy, apparently. So he just hangs out.
I don't know how I feel about that. I do know how I feel about it. I don't like it. I'm not yeah, okay. We won't yeah, okay. So you started collecting haunted things and that's Bozo. Was
Yep.
Bozo the first or is he just the most eventful?
I think he was the first. He is still probably the most eventful. But then, like, we were working with like a few different people who sell these objects online. But like over time, I trusted because I realized that like when they say like, "Oh, it's a haunted doll," it is. It sounds like an eBay scam. It's not. So we bought a few more things like that. We have another guy named Jimmy he looks like a little like kid's toy, and he's like this tall, and he's one of the like dancing, like he dances, and I think he's like a Frankenstein. So I just thought he was cute. So I just snagged him online one day, and he has a ton of activity with his light. There's also like when things go on, we have too many now that when things go on like in the house paranormal wise, I'm like, I don't know which one of you it was. I don't I can't ask. Like
Yeah, whoever did that, raise your hand,
eh,
One of you dolls.
that happens to be honest.
Yeah. It's like it's almost like having a bunch of kids. Like which one of you knocked over the glass? Come on, fess up.
Literally, that's exactly what it's like.
This is not related, so I'll cut this out, but it is kind of related to haunted objects. I might keep it in. Anyway, have you ever do you watch anime at all?
Yeah,
Have you ever watched Dark Gathering?
I have.
Peak, first of all. Fantastic. And anytime someone talks about haunted dolls or cursed objects. I think of Dark Gathering, where that little girl had like hundreds of evil spirits or whatever trapped in dolls inside of her room, and there's just a ton of them.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's you. That's you. You're gonna have just a room of just
Yeah, that's the
lined with
aesthetic that I'm
dolls.
slowly trying to get towards. So, like,
Ugh.
we have other ones that probably aren't haunted that are just very creepy to look at, but, like, those 2, I'm like, technically, they're like a vessel, so who knows at this point, something could make it haunted. Who knows? At this point, I'm like, our vacuum's probably haunted, like, anything at this point. We
So
invited too much at this point that
that brings me to my next question. With you actively seeking these things out, inviting these experiences and objects into your life, do you ever have any worry for yourself that it could be detrimental to you or your wife long term to have these things in your vicinity?
I mean, not really, because I try really hard to only have ones that are I don't wanna say, like, not negative, because we have gotten ones that were negative that we just didn't have issues with, but it also depends on, like, if they don't like you, they're gonna portray themselves as negative. So, we've never had an issue, and we're pretty good with, like, laying the groundwork where, like, if we buy something and we'll just kinda have to be like, "Hey, this is what you can and can't do here," like a kid, which is ridiculous because I know I sound crazy, but that's what we have to do, and we've never had, like, serious issues. Like, they'll definitely spook us sometimes, but we've never had anything bad happen. So, I'm hoping it remains that way. I try to steer clear, like, when I see a doll that's like, "Oh, demonic negative activity." I'm like, "Okay, maybe not," because I also, like, don't want it to hurt my dog.
Right. See, I'm not someone who would ever want something like that. I'm fascinated by them and I would interact with them and I'd come visit your house. I would come look
Right.
at all of them, but I wouldn't have them with me full time, you know what I mean? Not saying that, do your thing.
Foster them.
Yeah, yeah. But like I've got a religious background. I grew up Christian and still practice, and all that. And some people give me a hard time, for being so into spooky stuff. And I'm like, hey, I'm just having a good
Crazy.
time. But those roots, it's like I would never play with a Ouija board, for example.
I won't either. I don't mm-mm,
Yeah,
I don't like it.
because I feel like there's definitely a difference between that and like a haunted object. Because one's
Right.
more of like a doorway versus a vessel, I guess. Same
Right.
same sphere but different. Same but different. You know what I mean? I know but I'm just trying to make it make sense for everyone listening because it barely makes sense to me. But you get what I'm saying. Like I
Oh,
would
yeah.
I would never actively be like, someone talk to me.
Yeah.
But where you're like, okay, I have this thing, it may have a spirit in it or whatever, an entity of sorts, and now it's here. And I feel like you maintain a very strong position of power and control over these things where it's like, these are the rules.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have a say or power here. You are here for entertainment purposes, I guess, or some sort of spectacle, which is fine. Yeah, you got to, do your thing. But yeah, I just don't know if I would every day be like, yeah, look at those haunted dolls. I don't know if it could be me.
Funny enough that since we've been collecting them and it's like a thing that I guess people know about us, that our wedding was not this past Friday, but the Friday before, and
Congratulations, by the way.
yep, and one of my wife's friends came up to me. She was like, "I have to explain the gift to you because it's weird." And I was like, "Okay." And they have I think their son is like 2 years old, and I guess they had this, like, mobile type toy for him that had this fox, this, like, little stuffed animal fox on it. Again, they have Ring camera footage of it making really weird sounds. It doesn't have a voice box in it, and it would move, like, only slightly, like, it would just tip over, like, something, but they were terrified of this thing, and they were like, "We were gonna throw it out," and then we realized how weird you guys were, and you would love this, so we received a haunted animal as a wedding gift.
You're like, this is perfect. Thank you.
It was. Like, this is I'm gonna have to explain to people when they're like, "Oh, what'd you get?" And then they just see this random little fox toy, but I'm like, "The it was thoughtful."
Yeah, yeah. It was perfect for you.
It was.
Okay, so is your wife, obviously she's into this as well. I'd be curious to hear, I mean, obviously from her, but give me a quick nutshell of like her background. Did she get you more into this? Did you get her more into this? Was it kind of both at the same time? How'd that all go?
I mean, we are both creepy. So like we met working at a haunted attraction, like at a haunted hayride.
Okay.
We were always just creepy. And I think paranormal wise though, like it is at the time that we met, it was something that I had done for so long that like I was kind of taking a break, but like still super into like the research aspect of it as well. And I think that got her more interested when I would like take her on investigations and she got to see things. And she just became so good at investigating. Like she was always recording and like I would send her stuff like in the middle of the night because she would be at work. I'd be like, I don't know, like I think I hear something in this clip. What do you think? And she was just so good. Like 5 seconds later, she texts back and be like, oh no, that's definitely saying like hello or whatever it said. So she got super into it super fast, which again, she was always interested in it, but like I don't think she had resources, I guess, to like really go out and do it. So it was really neat to be able to do those things together. And hopefully we can keep doing it because it's fun. And you
Yeah,
never know what's going to happen.
absolutely. Yeah. I'm new to this area, but like I said, I want to go. I just got to find someone to do it with because I feel like I could go by myself, but it may not be as fun. It may be too spooky for one person, Who knows?
That's fair. Yeah. I won't do it alone just as like a safety thing. Like not even paranormal safety wise. Like
Yeah.
if you fall and like trip or you break your leg or like something happens, I'm so scared. And I'm like, what if I don't have service? Because for some reason, every haunted place, you don't have service. I'm
Yeah.
like, what if there's an emergency? But like also so many haunted places are just abandoned buildings. So I'm like, it would be my luck that like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna go explore this place by myself. And there's like squatters. I'm 5'1". What am I gonna do? Like, so I
Yeah.
for that purpose because I'm like safety wise, I just
Yeah. That's totally reasonable. And I feel the same way. It's like, I'm not going to go to an abandoned mine by myself. That just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
right.
And would not go alone. Sorry. Side note, I
Good.
really like your nails. Those look really cool.
Thank you so much. So I don't know how well they're like old now and grown out, but I don't know how well you can see them, but they kind of have black and then fading into white. And we did them specifically that way for the wedding so that they would look like a corpse's nails.
I did notice the gradient, and that's why I thought that's really cool. That is a very cool style. I saw some of the posts, the pictures from your wedding. Looked awesome. Great
Thank you.
theme and everything.
Yeah, I think we were able to do it in a way that it was still horror and creepy and spooky, but it wasn't like it was still elegant, which was
Yes.
nice.
Creepy but classy.
Yeah, that was the vibe. I didn't want to be like, it looked like you're walking into like a spirit Halloween or like a party city. So we pulled it off.
No, you guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Your wife's into it, you're into it. And that kind of like bring us to the present tattoo shop, just more getting into stuff. Keep walking me through it. I don't want to skip anything, but I do want to take some time and make sure we actually dive into some of your specific stories
Oh yeah.
because that's why we're here.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much present day. But we also did work for a while together at a funeral home. So that was another thing that she actually went to school for forensics, but then like didn't end up going into it. And I did mortuary stuff when I was in the military, and then I just continued doing it. So when we met, she was like, wait, that's really cool. And I was like, you want to just come work for me? And she was like, okay. So that was like a fun little thing we got to do. And that would be like our date night, like a little embalming, and then like a dinner date.
That's
That was
precious.
really
That
that
really is.
bar, you know.
A little bit of embalming, little dinner, like that's romantic as shit, bro. No, that's awesome. That's smooth as hell.
Yeah,
Yeah, come work with me at the funeral home. It's smooth, very smooth. And now you're married, so you got her.
I, she was just so like down for anything and so into like, sure, I'll come work there. Like, I'll check it out. And she was so good. So I was like, this is great.
That's
Most people
awesome.
like, oh, do you want to come work with me at a funeral home? And they would jump on that opportunity. So like when she got excited about it, I was like, all right, I have to marry her now.
This yeah. This is the love story we didn't know we needed, but we've got it,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. So dive into a couple of your specific stories.
I think one of my first was that growing up, we moved a lot because my dad was a contractor. So he was very much like, We would buy a house, he would make it a project,
Hmm.
totally redo it, and then on to the next one. So, like, we always, like, stayed in, like, the same town, but it was very much, like, every, like, I don't know, like, few years. Like, basically every time I was going into, like when I was going into middle school, we moved. And then when I was going to high school, like, we moved. So it was very much that. The second house that we lived in when I was in middle school, so creepy for no reason. Like, it didn't look really creepy. It was a pretty place, but it just had that vibe. Like, it just didn't, something was off. And when we went to see it before we bought it, when they went to show it to us, family was there and they were having a party in the backyard in the pool, which that is relevant. I promise. But at the time, I was like, oh, that's super cute. Like, look at this nice family. Like, okay. And so we move in, we buy the house, and immediately, like, I was younger, but like something was off. Lights would flicker, you would hear noises. The basement always felt like somebody was watching you. I wouldn't go in the basement by myself, like, ever. And then I remember too, like, I had some stupid, like, robot toy that would go on in the middle of the night, and it was so loud. And so we ended up taking the batteries out of it and putting it in, like, the office closet
Hmm.
and put stuff on top of it, and it would still turn on. No batteries
Nah. No,
would
thank
turn
you.
on, and I was like, "No. No, thank you."
Yeah, not for me.
But yeah, no. Especially at that age, I was like, "Uh-uh." But I was having these really weird dreams about our neighbor across the street who was the sweetest old guy. He was probably in his 80s. He was this little Italian man. He was so sweet. I always had these, like, nightmares about him, and it was just a thing, and my mom would get so mad at me, and I would tell her, and I would be like, "I just had a dream that, like, he did this or he did that," and she's like, "He's the nicest old man, like, stop." I'm like, I'm just letting you know." And then we moved when I was in high school, and I had a friend who lived in that neighborhood, and we went to pick him up to go to, like, a haunted attraction, and, the parents had to do that, like, "Oh, let's meet each other" thing, and my mom was like, "Oh, we used to live down the street," and the lady was like, "Oh, what house?" And she explained, and the lady goes, "Oh, did they ever fill in that pool?" And, like, that's a weird thing to say to somebody, so my mom was like, "No, why?" And she was like, "Oh, you don't know what happened there?" And the second she said that, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me." So it turns out the guy that used to live there took his own life in the backyard,
Hmm.
and the neighbor across the street, because crime scene cleanups is, like, not a thing around here, the guy across the street was who cleaned everything up. I'm like, I wonder if that's why I was having, like, those dreams about him. Like, I knew
Oh.
something was going on with that dude, but I guess that's what it was. My mom was so mad because my dad knew and he, like, didn't tell us. So it was just this whole thing of, like, every experience that I had there was finally validated as to, like, okay, it was actually haunted. So it's not just me being crazy. So that was, like, I think one of the first experiences that really got me into paranormal stuff, because that was, like, my first, like, in my face experience. And after that, I was, like, just totally invested.
So you're having dreams about the neighbor who had to clean the mess up, but why him, you know?
That's why it was weird. Like, he wasn't a bad guy by him cleaning up for them. Like, that was very nice. But, like, for some reason, I would always have dreams. Like, I knew something was going on with that guy. And I guess that's what it was. But yeah, it was just wild. And then, like, looking back, I'm like, that's crazy that it happened in the backyard. And, like, we showed up and they were having a pool party where it happened. So, like, I often think about that. I'm like, I don't know that I would do that. 'Cause I feel like I'd be too upset to, like, have a pool party. It was really wild to, like, finally be validated that, like, I wasn't crazy and that
Yeah.
there was genuine stuff going on in that house.
Lots of bad vibes left over. Lots of residual something.
Yeah, and I was glad that, like, by the time I found out, we had already moved out. So that was nice. Because if we were still there, I would've been, "All right, whose house can I sleep at for the next, like, 3 weeks? Because 'Cause I'm not ready to go back in there."
Seriously, the trauma. Yeah, if you would have, if they would have been like, yeah, this happened, and you have to continue living there, ugh, no thanks. So no,
Yeah.
a blessing in disguise, as it were. So okay, an early start to things, and that's kind of what triggered you getting into what you're into. Tell me more. Tell me more. Let's hear more.
I feel like it was just one of those things that, like, once I opened my eyes to it and, like, I got into it, more stuff would just happen to me all the time. So, like, there was also a time that I was living in town, like, a little bit north of here, and I was in my, like, early 20s. I had just moved in with, 2 of my best friends, and it was, like, a really nice house. I was super excited for it, and I had, like, the attic, basically, was my bedroom, and we were moving in, like, the 1st of January. But my one friend was like at his mom's house down the street, and our other roommate was in Georgia. So I was the only one in the house. And that house, again, it looked creepy. It felt creepy. It just was very
Had
unsettling
all
of a
the
house.
right vibes
It did.
of
Like it was
being creepy and haunted,
It was gorgeous, but you could just tell. Like, the second you walk in there, you're like, I don't know. The town that it's in is also a very, very haunted town in New Jersey. So, like, it's known for being haunted. So I was like, this is my life now. It's fine. And we go to move in, and it's just me there. And I didn't even have my mattress delivered yet. So I was on my air mattress in my bedroom on the 3rd floor, and I hear the front door open, which my fault. I did not lock it because my roommate was like coming over soon. So I'm laying in bed, I'm like on my phone or something, and I hear the front door open. I'm like, oh, Dre must be home. Next thing you know, I hear hello, and it's this deep, deep voice. Dre did not sound like that. Dre had like a very high feminine voice. So I'm like, uh-oh, who is that? So I was panicked. And I'm like, and that's my first night in the house. So I'm like, great. And I go down my first set of stairs, I hear hello again. And I'm like, that's a man. Like, what is going on? I get to the final set of steps to go to like our main floor, and I like slowly look down, and the front door was wide open. And at that point, I start shaking, and I'm like ready to cry because I'm like, I'm gonna get killed. Somebody is in my house right now. Oh my God. So like I said, we just moved in. We had nothing in the kitchen yet. I didn't have like any type of weapon. So I was like, oh my God. I grabbed my skateboard. I don't know what I thought I was gonna do with that. I checked the whole house. I checked like the back of the house. I checked the basement. Nobody. And then I like finally went out the front door because I was like, if there is somebody in here, they're probably still in here. Let me not be in the house. And I called my roommate and I was like, it didn't sound like you. I'm assuming you're still at your mom's. And he was like, yeah, I'm not there. And I explained what happened. And to this day, I have no idea what that was about. I don't know if that was like a paranormal thing where people are like, oh, there's a new person in my house. What's going on? Or if that was just a human. I have no idea. But that to this day, like that story, that whole experience shook me to my core. And like, I was never comfortable in that house after that. Cause night one, I thought I was getting murdered. So like, it can only go uphill from here.
Yeah. That is wild. And it could have been anything. You know, like you said, it could have been a person, it could have been a spirit, whatever. If it was a person, it could have been your neighbor being like, "Hey, is someone new here?" Or maybe they thought like it could possibilities are endless. And that's the worst part because you're like, I
And
don't
I'll
know.
never know. And it like also to be fair, it was like not a nice area. So automatically in my mind, I was like, somebody just broke in here. And
Okay,
it's like,
I'm about to die.
it's been a good 20 some years. See ya.
Well, hey, a skateboard's got good range on it, at least. So you can...
Yeah, looking back, that was one of those moments that I'm like, that's what I did? Like, that's how I reacted? Like, it was very humbling to be like, okay, now I know what's going to happen if I'm ever in a horror movie. I'm going first. See you guys.
My goodness, that is crazy. But yeah, there's something about the thought of an intruder that's
Yeah,
definitely to me and to just about everyone, obviously, that's scarier than maybe even
way
a
worse.
ghost. Because, like we talked about earlier, that's a real threat in your face right now.
Yeah.
I say real threat. I mean, I believe in spirits and all that, but I mean, physical, tangible could kill you with a weapon, you know. Whew. Okay.
That's like my biggest fear. Like, I think growing up, like, my favorite horror movie has always been The Strangers.
Mm.
It's so realistic, and I hate it because it's like one of those movies where there's not a moment where you're like, they shouldn't have done that or that was stupid. They did the right thing that entire movie, and they still ended up the way that they did. So I'm like, that movie scarred me for life. And even as an adult now, I'm like, they did everything right and they couldn't even survive that situation. So I'm like, I don't stand a chance. Me and my skateboard, we don't stand a damn chance. Like,
Oh man. Yeah, that is a good one. Classic for sure. So you're here though. You made it. You're alive. We're happy for it.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us more. What else do you got?
Yeah, I mean, that one was the interesting one because, like I said, like I don't know if that was paranormal or not, but whatever it was terrifying. But I think I don't know, maybe it's just like my family that like things just happen to.
Yeah.
Like my mom and my dad really haven't had many experiences or ones that they've ever shared with me. But a few years ago, my cousin moved down here from like Long Island, New York, and her house was definitely haunted when she was living in Long Island. It was kind of like this running joke of like, don't bring that with you because she was trying to get an apartment. So she was living with my mom until like her apartment was finished. And I would come over here and just hang out, and they really weren't having, like, many issues, and then one night she was in the room, she was working, she was on her computer, and she had a lamp next to her that had, like, one of the clicky on-off buttons, so, like, very audible, like, if somebody presses that off, you will hear it, like, even from a different room, and I was laying on the couch, and I was on my phone, but I was facing her, like, bedroom, like, her open door. Her light was on, and she was on the phone with somebody, and next thing you know, I just heard that, like, click, and the light turned off. I think I just looked up from my phone, and I was like and I saw that she was, like, not anywhere in, like, reaching distance of the lamp, and I just heard her be, like, audibly be like, "Oh, no," and I was like, "What's going on?" And she's so funny, but she got so scared, and then I got scared because she was panicking. She hung up the phone with whoever she was on the phone with, ran out into the living room, and at this point, it was probably, like I said, like, 12 o'clock at night, if not later, and we were like, "What do we do? What do we do?" We were so scared because like, her face was, like, pretty close to the lamp, and for it to just turn off and you could hear it, like, it wasn't like the bulb went out. We were terrified. I we were sitting on the couch Googling motels near us to be like, "We can't stay tonight. We can't stay home. This is horrible. What was that?" She's had the craziest experiences, and I think it's just her. I don't know. We
It,
also had an experience.
it could be.
My wife and I slept over at her house recently. It was probably like a year ago, and she and my mom were also there, and they were, like, hanging out in the living room. We went to bed, and we were in her bedroom. So we went to bed, whatever, and, like, we both wear glasses. So when things happen in the middle of the night, I don't have my glasses on, like, all
You're
bets are off.
blind.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't do anything. So it was probably like 3:15 in the morning, and we both get waken up because there was this loud, loud, loud crash. And I'm immediately thinking, okay, her apartment's like on the second level, which is low enough that somebody could climb in the window. My immediate thought was like somebody just broke in because it was that loud.
Right.
And so I'm just laying in bed and I'm like, I can't move because if I look and there's somebody in this room, I'm gonna die. So I was like, I can't move. And we just laid in silence for like a good 30 seconds. And my wife was finally like, did you hear that? And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, what was that? So finally, I had to be the brave one, get up, and I like put my glasses on. And she had this big wardrobe, almost like Narnia looking huge wardrobe. And I'm like looking, and I don't even see the wardrobe yet. And I just open the door thinking, like, okay, maybe it was my mom and my cousin like trying to prank us. They're dead asleep on the couch. So I'm like, oh, okay, it wasn't them. Come back into the bedroom, and the doors of the wardrobe were completely open, and
Hmm.
they, I guess, burst open with such a force that it knocked her, like, big standing fan onto the floor. So that's what the noise was. They're like like, like, magnetic type door where, like, you really have to, like, pull it open for
Yeah.
it to come open.
They're not just gonna
Ac
swing open on their own.
Right! So I'm like, the fact that they both swung open with that force that it knocked over a fan, I didn't sleep for like 2 days after that because I could not figure out. I couldn't debunk it. I have no idea what it could have been.
No. Haunted wardrobes again. I've talked about this before. Keeping, I don't know where she got it, whatever, right? I don't know the history behind this wardrobe. Doesn't sound like an IKEA piece, is what I'm getting at. But the older something in the more hands that it's been passed through, different generations, different families, you just increase your likelihood of some spooky bullshit happening. And I'm
Mhm.
not about that. Like, there's a few things that I hold on to that are like heirlooms, but not even, I would
Right.
never be like, let me keep this dresser. I don't care about most of that kind of stuff. And I've heard too many stories now, just from doing this show, of haunted objects or things being attached to an object and it following you around because you keep bringing your furniture with you. Why wouldn't you? Or one of the guys that came from your live that I just recorded with, his his mom bought a house and bought some of the old furniture from the previous tenants who had died there, or the estate or something. I don't remember the exact details, but just no. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Get your own stuff.
I feel like estate sales, it's almost like guaranteed something's gonna be attached to it. So,
Yes. Douse
mm,
it in holy water, burn some sage, whatever you got to do, do it. If you absolutely must have that roll top desk or whatever, that vanity, a
right.
silver backed mirror, like get out of here with all that. Do something, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the doors had slammed open. You you register this. Do you don't go back to sleep? You just have to sit there and tear? Where do you
I
go
like
from here with
was like
this?
I was like, "Well, we finally were able to realize, like, that's what happened," and that I don't know, it was probably only, like, 5 minutes, but it felt like 20 minutes of me trying to be like, "What was that?" Because I was certain that somebody broke in, and when I saw that, I was like, "Wait, that might be worse," because I could like, there's no logical way that that could have done that on its own. So, we waited till the next morning, and I, like, told my cousin, and I was like, "You will not believe what happened last night," and so we explained it to her. She was like, "I've had issues with that wardrobe, like, it'll creak, like there's something in it." And I'm like, "Well, why do you still have it?" And she still to this day, that was like I said, at least a year ago, she still has it and she's moving in like a month. And I asked her the other day, I was like, "Are you keeping that?" And she was like, "Yeah, I just need it." Like I was like, "I'm pretty sure you could buy another one."
Yeah, burn it, get something new,
Yeah.
or literally anything else.
Yeah. If that was me, that would have been like out by the trash
Yeah.
and in
No,
the
I would have burned it. I would have like, this is firewood now. This is
Yep.
our next bonfire, because I don't want to pass it along to someone else. I don't want to do that, you know. I feel
Right.
like that's kind of rude to just pass along cursed objects, knowingly, and some poor sap picks it up at a Goodwill or something.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
I
man.
feel like it should have a tag. If she ever takes it to, like, a thrift store, like, I hope she tells them and they put, like, a tag on it that just says, like, "Definitely not haunted."
If I saw something that had like a stamp or with like, this is definitely haunted, I'd be like, let's take it. Maybe not take it
Like
home, but let's take it out of here. And that made me think, when I was talking about like burning it or dousing things with holy water or sage burning, what do you do, if anything, as like a protection? Other than having like your firm kind of stance just internally of, I'm in charge here, do
right.
you have any sort of ritual that you do of anything that helps you feel more comfortable having all of these things?
I mean, I really don't. Like, the only thing that I do, like you said, like, is kind of, like, lay down the law and be like, "Hey, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do." And I've never had an issue, so, like, I haven't really felt the need to, like, have any type of, like, actual ritual like that. But it was really cool working with the different host groups that I have because I've gotten to see everybody else's rituals, which was so fascinating because, it has to work for you. There's not like a textbook that's like, this is what you have to do like we had one guy that would always, like, driving home from an investigation, would always blast metal music. And for him, that was just like his ritual. Like, that's what he needed. Or we had another lady who would, after investigations, like, would take her shoes off and leave them outside and would not bring her shoes in to her home after an investigation, I guess because of,
Interesting.
like, grounding purposes.
Okay.
And I thought that was really fascinating. So, like, I've gotten to see a lot of cool rituals over time of how people do that. But I feel like there's been situations where I was in spaces where it was really negative and really dark, that extent where I was like, before I left, I would be like, "Please don't follow me home. We can't do this." But other than that, like, I've never had an issue with things being negative to the extent of me being like, "Oh, if this followed me home, I'd have an issue."
Yeah. Visitors not welcome kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, interesting. And I've found, and I've met with different people that are very much like that of, I don't have time for this. That's how they deal with it. One of my friend's moms, they live in a relatively haunted area.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of history there. But when they have things happen in their home, they treat it as an inconvenience and say, "Hey, I can't deal with this right now.
Right.
Get lost." And that works for a lot of people. And I've listened to other podcasts even where people talk about like, "Hey, this is my house now and I need you to respect that. Like, you're not alive, you're not here. Get. Go on now, get," kind of thing.
Right.
And
Like, I'm all about, like, very, very respectful. Like,
yeah.
this can be your space. You can have the space. You can do whatever you want here, but, like, you can't hurt anybody. You can't hurt the dog. Other than that, like, you want to play with the lights, like, just don't run up my electric bill. Or, like, if you feel so inclined to pick up a mop, go for it. I would appreciate
Yeah.
that. You want to
Yeah.
vacuum? That's fine.
You're the second person I've had that mentioned the electrical bill. There goes.
But that's the thing. I'm like, you guys can't be sitting there all day just like,
Yeah, flickering lights. These bills are expensive, dude. Unless you're gonna get a
yeah,
job and start paying rent, like, I don't want to see it. Wouldn't that be the killer of like, we got to get rid of all of our haunted bills? They are killing us on the electricity.
literally. Can you imagine?
Oh man, that'd be wild. Like, yeah, I used to collect haunted objects, but my utility bills
That's
went
too,
through the roof. Oh
too
man,
expensive.
that's so silly. That's funny. No one ever thinks about the cost, the true cost, right? Oh man.
Literally.
So outside of the wardrobe and some things, happening to you in your old home, what's like the peak? What's the apex, or was that it of all the spookiest, scariest things that have happened to you?
I think the one that probably stuck with me the most, and it was really funny because I guess it freaked me out so badly that I repressed it to the extent that like somebody had brought up the story like 5 years after it happened. And I was like, oh my God, that did happen. Like I totally forgot about it. But it was when I went on my first investigation. It was in Gettysburg. So that's like a pretty far drive from where I was living at the time. Like it was at least 2, 3 hours. So we were investigating, I think it was called the Montfort Farm or something like that. It was an old Civil War hospital. And we did get like really cool evidence that night. It was really fun. I was just happy to be there. It was my first investigation. I was so into it. I was so excited. And the family who owned the farm turned to us and they were like, okay, do you want to stay the night? Because you can or not. And my friend's mom was kind of like, no, we don't want to impose. We're going to head home. So I was like, okay. So she was driving and I was in the passenger seat and my friend was in the back seat. The roads in Gettysburg, when you're driving home at 4 in the morning, are pitch black. Like, biggest highway, there's not another car on the highway. There's no like street lights, like pitch black. So we're driving. We're maybe like an hour into the drive. And I think I was maybe on my phone. And my friend was like dead asleep in the back. And her mom was driving. And all of a sudden, the music just starts blasting. Like the radio turned itself on full volume. And we all jumped. And it was this weird moment of like, I looked at her mom, and I was kind of like, she's asleep. Why would you do that? She looked at me the same way. And we realized in that moment that either of us did that. And we were like, oh, okay. But as that happened, we obviously like turned it off. But I went to look out the window and there was a car that was on the side of the road and its headlights were off, but the car itself was on. Like you could tell by the brake lights. And I was like, that's weird. Because there's like, they didn't have their hazards on, but their headlights were off, which immediately I was like, that's kind of unsafe. It's just not what you see every day at 4 in the morning. So we keep driving. That's what I guess woke me up a bit to like realize that that car was there. We get probably 5, 10 miles further, and all of a sudden we see headlights behind us. And they were doing this like terribly horrific thing where the car would come up literally like probably inches from our bumper and then slam on the brakes and just fall back. And they just kept doing that. And we were in the right lane, so you could have passed. And they just kept doing it, oh, this close to hitting us and then just falling back. And this is like two young girls and a woman, and like we're getting a little nervous. So we tried to get to the left lane to see if they wanted to pass us and stay in the right lane. Same thing. They came over, kept doing it, kept doing it. At that point, I'm like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what is happening right now? And they would try to like, if we would get in a different lane, they would come up next to us and then last second cut over to like almost literally hit us off the road. So it was clearly not a good situation. And finally, my friend's mom like looked at me and she was like, "Can you call 911? Because like this is not going to end well." At that point, like we didn't know if they were like intoxicated or they had bad intent. Like we didn't know what was going on. So I was like, "Yeah." So I had my phone up, I had it on speaker, and I called 911. I explained the issue, and at that point, the car came next to us, and I could see that it was like two older men. And when they looked over, I guess they saw that I was on the phone. And that's when they kind of panicked and they totally fell back and they ended up blocking off the exits. I think we were maybe on the turnpike. Cops were blocking off the exits so they couldn't go anywhere. They pulled them over and then they pulled us over with them. And I don't know, they wouldn't tell us what happened, but they pulled us over in front of them. But I could still see that car in my mirror. And I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what they were up to. I don't know if they were drunk. I don't know. But it's two older guys. We watched them get arrested after they searched their car. So, like, I don't know if they had weapons in the car. I don't know if they were strategically trying to run us off the road for that reason, or maybe they were just intoxicated. Like, I really don't know, and I never will know. But it was definitely a moment of like, when the radio turned itself on, that's when we noticed the car on the side of the road. So I'm like, was that a spirit trying to like warn us
Mm-hmm.
about that? But it was intense. They had us out there for like an hour. They waited for like them to get arrested. That cop car left, and then they just were like, you guys are good. Like you can leave. Sorry that happened. That was it. And I was like, so to this day, I'll never know what their intentions were, why they were doing that. But it freaks me out to my core to think about what could have happened if the cops didn't act faster than they did.
Yeah, that is wild. I
It was
immediately
horrific.
was thinking like, oh, it's just some teens pranking people, being dicks, on the road, just trying to thinking they're having fun, having a good time, scaring the crap out of people.
Right.
And what do you mean by older? Because you were a teen at the time, right? So how old were these guys really?
I mean, I would say like 45 to 55.
Okay.
So they weren't
Okay.
old guys, but they were older.
They weren't grandpas.
Wasn't like, you know, teens having fun.
Right.
And like I said, like 3 women in a car, and then you see that and you see them get arrested. We were kind of like,
Yeah,
who knows how
that could have gone a lot worse.
it was really, really intense, and it was really scary. And like I said, like I totally forgot that story until she brought it up one time, and I was like, oh my God, that did happen. Also, that's like one of those stories that I never told my mom. If she heard that, and she would never let me like go out and
Yeah.
investigate ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, skip that one.
There's some stories you don't tell until you're an adult.
Yeah.
That is wild though. That is really crazy. And that's like a great mixture of like a little bit of supernatural, a little bit not. And the fact these people are out, dude, people are scary. People are crazy and scary because again, who knows? You don't just
Right.
get arrested. I mean,
Also, like, I don't know, because I'm like, they had no proof. It could have just cut us off, and I could have just been like a scorned person who called 911 to complain and like act like they were doing this. So they had no evidence that they were behaving the way on the road that we said they were. So I'm like, there had to be more to it. That they like found something in the car, or maybe there was a warrant out for them. Like, I had no idea. Like, that was way before like social media was a real big thing. So I'm like, there was no app that I could hear the police scanner, or I could have looked up like the local news. Cause like I also didn't know where we were. We were like in the middle of Pennsylvania. So I'm like, there was no way of me figuring out what that arrest was.
yeah.
So I'm always like, man, maybe I'll hire like somebody to like trace back if I could figure out the date and like tell me, go figure it out. Like
Yeah.
go read the arrest records from that day. Somebody needs to let me know.
Well, I'm glad you survived that encounter too. You've had a few of
I
these
know.
encounters where
It's been touch and go a few times.
it's been up in the air. Paranormal, maybe not. Maybe a person. Who knows? Like I said earlier, glad you made it. Glad you're here to tell stories, and I'm really glad that you're doing what you're doing, and you've created this space for people to come and join your live streams and talk to you and talk to others about their crazy stories. Because again, that's like the kind of stuff I love, and it gives people, like you said, a safe space to express themselves and tell stories that maybe they never would have before. And I think that's really awesome.
Right. There's been people too who like I guess just don't have the resources to find a team near them or whatever. So they have issues going on in, their home or their workplace, whatever. They have questions about. They have nobody to ask. So
Right.
like it's been a fun thing being on there. And I have another girl, Tammy, who has a paranormal group in North Carolina. And then sometimes my friend Glenn will come on and like we are all investigators. So like it's been nice to have people have that space to like ask those questions. That way, everybody just feels like a little less crazy.
Right. I love it. I really do. And I'm glad that I stumbled upon your live stream.
I know, I'm so glad.
Yeah, and I mean it's been great for me, especially. I've gotten more guests out of it and more great stories. Um, I wanted to touch real quick in all of your paranormal investigations. Where do you think your most eventful investigation was? Where you were there, whether it was small, large group, whatever, but things happened, or you got some really good events or evidences.
I mean, I would definitely have to say the tattoo shop just because that was, like I said, like I had more activity there in one day than I probably had my entire career. And that was also like I said, like, some places will have an off day. Like, you can't make ghosts perform. So there, like we would, every time we would investigate, whether it was us or we had a few like investigators who were like real big on like either TikTok or YouTube come in and investigate. And nobody ever left disappointed without evidence, which was just so cool. And it was just a different types of activity. Like it wasn't always like, oh, footsteps. Like it was so many different things that would happen
Right.
just throughout the course of the day. So I would definitely have to say that. But also, I did do one investigation that was at somebody's house. And it ended up being somebody that was in the paranormal investigation group that I was with at the time. And that was one of the craziest investigations I had ever done. And I've never felt such darkness on an investigation like that one. And they just kept saying, like, there's something up with the basement. There's something up with the basement. And I'm not at all like psychic or sensitive to that stuff. I just am into it. I just remember walking down the basement. And once you got to like the last few steps, the air was so heavy. It felt like when you are going really fast in the car and you like stick your hand out the window and you could feel the air. That's what it felt like. Like if you went like this, like you could physically feel the air. And I was like,
Wow.
Because I'm also very like scientific to the point of like, okay, how can we debunk this? Like, what is the logical reason behind what's happening? And that was something that I'm like, I can't explain that.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying. And I'm pretty sure that family moved. Thank God. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I would not be living there anymore at all.
I don't like basements. I have a theory, like a really kind of weak theory. I talked about it with one of my previous guests because his story was mostly basement related. But I think it's unnatural for humans to be underground while they're alive.
Right. That's fair.
And I don't know how to make sense of it all. Because, like you said, there's no guidebook or manual or science, real science to it all. And I'm kind of like you, I'm not sensitive to these sorts of things,
Right.
spiritual type things. I'm fascinated by it. I believe in a lot of it. But when I go into a situation or I hear about people's experiences, I like to go in with an open mind and be respectful. But at the same time, it's like, is this debunkable?
Right.
And I'm not actively trying to be like, yeah, I know you're full of it. It's more of a, let's think about it from multiple perspectives. But
Right.
with basements and when things are haunted and creepy and scary, I just feel like there's something off about being below ground and being alive because that's just not meant for us.
That makes sense.
That's where dead people go.
Literally.
So and here's the thing, I say that, but I spent years in Utah. Everyone's got basements,
Oh, yeah.
unfinished basements, but basements nonetheless. I lived in a basement for years, so I shouldn't, I don't know. I don't know, but I just feel like there's just something about it that maybe just like our essence of being doesn't like being in there because it's
Right.
not right. I don't know. It's very loose theorizing, if you will, but it's just an idea that I like to think about because the creepy basement came from somewhere, right? And yeah, of course, older basements have just janky little single light bulb to light the whole place, which
Oh, yeah.
we're naturally afraid of the dark as a species. It just is. That's just how things are. But even in a basement that is well lit, it still has potential to have some off vibe. Just my ramblings and theories.
Research wise, like I don't know what I believe, but I know a lot of people believe, and there's been a lot of research about some of the main things that I guess ramp up paranormal activity or start it is like flowing water, which a lot of basements have some type of flowing water under them or something like that,
Interesting.
and limestone. And a lot of basements, at least in my area, have limestone somewhere in the foundation in the basement.
Are you in the
So
South?
I also wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Maybe. Where are you? Are you in the South?
I'm in Jersey.
Oh, okay. So, not really. Because I lived in Texas and most people don't have basements because of limestone. It's a pain in the ass to
Uh-huh.
excavate and all that. So that's also interesting. I don't really know. So my mom is kind of a witch.
Oh,
She
that's so cool.
she runs a shop here in Arizona, a crystal shop, but she knows all of the different mineral crystals and lotions and potions and all that stuff. But every crystal and every rock has some sort of attribute or
Right.
whatever you want to call it. So maybe limestone has a thing to it that something. Who knows? Who knows? She might
Hey,
know. I'll
I
have
don't know.
to ask her. Now, real quick, I want to ask some more personal questions. Let's talk about your belief system if you're comfortable with that. You don't have to dive too deep into it, but like
Yeah.
when it comes to just living life and dealing with paranormal things and whatnot, where do you fall? What's your belief background? Like I had said, I have a Christian background, but I'm still very fascinated by all of the unholy things, these spooky things. And I feel very comfortable with it. I don't ever find myself being truly scared of things like this. Even though I believe
Right.
in them, it's like I have a physical body. I feel like I am in control. I am in control. I have the power over any sort of entity. What are they going to do?
Right.
And that's kind of how I go into it. But everyone had, like, when you're talking about your group, everyone has something that works for them and has their own ritual.
Hmm.
What's your background? What kind of keeps you grounded? How do you approach a lot of, and we've already discussed with your authoritative kind of stance and being this authoritative figure in your own household with
Right.
your own objects, but in general, background, where you're at now, what are we looking at?
Yeah. I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And like my grandparents were like super, super religious. And then after they passed, like it wasn't really practiced as much within the family. But I've always been like super, super, super fascinated with religion and the Bible and like, but in general, every religion. Like I love studying it and researching and reading and just educating myself because I'm fascinated by that stuff. So I studied a ton of different religions. So I feel like religion wise, I kind of fall between a lot of different things because there's like some stuff from different religions that I kind of just will like pick and choose because
Hmm.
I'm like, you know what, this I really align with. I really like this. This makes sense. But then there's something else from, a different religion that I'm like, wait, I like this too. So it's a weird kind of culmination of different religions that I've been super into. But like just in general, I like educating myself because that's also very important to investigating. Because the thing with that is you do have to be educated somewhat on religion because even if you're, say like a practicing Christian, that's awesome. But if you go to a house that is a practicing some type of Jewish household, that can cause a little bit of an issue because if you only know how to do things with specific Bible verses that are perfect for people of a Christian faith,
Yeah.
that might not align with people of a Jewish faith. So then you kind of have to like revamp what you're doing in your angle. And also, I feel like that just provides them with more comfort. So if you go in and you're reading passages that are relevant to them and their life and their lived experiences, that makes them feel safer than if, you come in and you just read Christian Bible verses. That doesn't provide the peace of mind, I feel like.
Right.
So you do have to be a little unbiased and be able to pull from different religions depending on the situation, which is super neat, as it's really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating. The different theologies are fascinating. And I feel like we're very kindred spirits in a lot of this because I am fascinated by other religions. I may have my own that I practice and I stick to, but that doesn't mean I don't like hearing the lore of everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Just for the sake of knowledge, you know what I mean? Just for the sake of
Yeah.
knowing different things.
I mean, I honestly was always fascinated with it. But then when I joined the military on Sunday mornings, it was like this thing in basic training where you could like either go to, your service of choice or you could clean. So I was like, I'm going to go learn about religions because I'm not going to be cleaning. So we had this group together of like, we would do the Catholic service and then we would do another one. And we would kind of like, it was a tour of religions because I was just curious to learn. Also, I got to give it to them. The pagans had the best snacks. They had the best snacks. And they have so many holidays that are celebrated, like really celebrated. So every few weeks they were like having a celebration and the
Mhm.
best snacks. I'm so fascinated by like Wiccan and paganism to see how everything is so nature based and how that makes sense to them. And I'm like, I could see how that makes sense. Like I remember learning something about how they get their holy water, and it's something about like rainfall on a certain type of moon days. And I was like, that is so cool. That's wild to me how different religions are. I don't know. I just love learning that stuff. I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
fascinated.
Side note, what branch were you in?
I was in the army
In the army? How long?
6 years.
6 years. Dang. Thank you for your service. My brother was
Yeah,
my brother-in-law is currently in Navy, and my younger
awesome.
brother was a Marine. So when I hear it, he had a very similar experience where it's like you could go to church or you could do something you don't want to do. And so
Yeah,
we were going to church.
like it was cool because I probably honestly would not have studied religion the way that I'm studying religion as an adult because of that experience. Like I never would have thought like to try those things out.
Yeah.
But if the opportunity was there, I was like, well, why not? And it was such a good experience. And you get to meet so many people and talk to so many people from so many different walks of life.
Yeah.
So like hear how, whatever religion they follow has changed their life or saved their life. Like no matter what religion it is, I love hearing stories like that because it's just so inspiring.
Yeah.
Like I love stuff like that.
It is truly fascinating. And it's so funny to look at this where it's like there's this dichotomy, if that's the right word, of
Right.
I people again, I feel like we're very similar with a lot of these things. Like I'm very fascinated by all different religions, but I'm also very fascinated by all different spooky things.
Yes.
And I find that like when there's people like that, that's those two go hand in hand. The fascination goes both ways, to the holy and
Right.
the unholy, if you will, right? If
Yeah.
it's a spectrum, right? You go both sides of curiosity.
I did regarding religion have a really weird thing happen on a TikTok live where I wouldn't like again, I have so many different views that I really can't say that like I align specifically with any religion.
Mhm.
But I'm very fascinated with the tenets of like the some of the different like branches of Satanism. I'm very fascinated with the rules that they live by. And I think it's really fascinating because if you read stuff like that, like it's all about bettering yourself and treating
Mhm.
others with kindness. And I love that. And I have a few tattoos that are very satanic in nature, but I just like them. I thought they were pretty. They aligned with my views at the time. And somebody on a live had said something to me and they were like, "Oh, well, did you have anything bad happen to you after you got those tattoos? Because technically it could be perceived as like a blood ritual because it's a tattoo, it's emotional, and you were like bleeding. So did you have anything happen to you?" And I thought about that and I'm like, wait, that's really fascinating. I didn't, but it was me. And I think I was alone when they asked me that question. The next night, I was on with my friend Glenn and I asked him, because he's an investigator, I was like, do you think that that's like a possibility? That if, you're out here getting tattoos of that nature, even if they're like, Catholic or like whatever, that can conjure up things like spiritually and paranormally. And we were just starting to have a conversation about it. And his audio on TikTok literally had like this weird like reverb and was also delaying and clipping things that I was saying and just playing them on repeat, just playing them on repeat. And I was like,
Odd.
I have never heard anything like that. So we kicked him out of the room. He came back in. It was fine. It started doing it again. And he was like, all right, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to close out of TikTok. I'll come back in. As he went to do that, he's texting me and he's like, something's going on in my kitchen. Like, I just heard my kitchen chair move. I'm like, that's so weird that, like, I was just asking you that specific question. Now you're having activity.
Interesting.
But I wonder if that is, I guess I'll never have the answer, but I don't know. That was just
So
a really weird thing.
I have thoughts. So the tenets of Satanism, I look at as like a kind of like a firmly polite hedonism,
Right. Okay.
right? Where it's like, don't harm others unless they harm you first, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Do what feels good for you. It is fascinating. And there's my friend who is a practicing witch, and she's been a witch for 23 years, I believe. And she's an active, she's satanic. But
Right.
there's a difference between the satanic, like the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple,
Yeah.
where the tenets come from the Satanic Temple, if I'm not mistaken. I can't
Yeah.
remember which. And she being a witch was like, yeah, a lot of those things kind of align with what I'm doing as a witch and so on and so forth. And any practicing witch will tell you, this is regarding your tattoos, your blood ritual, that it's about intention. The
Right.
intention. Because if you're just getting a tattoo to be like, I like the way it looks, it's cool, that's it. There's no intention other than my own enjoyment, right? I saw the one on your hand, that's why I'm doing the little
Yeah.
pentagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And to me, the symbolism doesn't bother me because it's like it's symbolism. There's symbolism in everything. It is what's the intent behind it, right?
Right.
You could draw anything on a piece of paper and it could mean nothing. What's the intention, right? So to me, it's not a blood ritual because that wasn't your intention. You weren't
Exactly.
going out of my way to say, I want the devil to come possess me or anything like that. It was, I want this thing because I like the way.
That's
Them's my thoughts.
I like that.
And I'm sure I'm sure people listening or not listening, whatever, would have plenty of opinions about it. But any good practice in witch will tell you it's about your intention. So I think you're good. I think you're good, honestly.
Yeah, it was just a crazy experience because I'm like, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't think that any string of bad luck I have, I just had bad luck. Like that has nothing to do with me getting like a pentagram tattooed on me. Like that's silly. It was just so funny that I was like, had this moment of like, oh, that's not what actually happened. Like that didn't happen to me. We're talking about it, and I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm the one who brought it up, and my friend's over here like having experiences in his house. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I conjured up for you. I really do apologize.
It's probably he's probably just got his own stuff going on, honestly. I don't think that has anything to do with you.
The way that it had played out, I was like, oh man, he's
Yeah,
gonna hate me now.
and I was gonna ask about that because your handle on Instagram is the Satanic Hispanic, which I think is fun. Yeah, it's catchy. It rolls off the tongue well.
But you know what? It started a lot of shit, and I just didn't assume ever in a million years that my TikTok would have taken off the way that it did,
Yeah.
and that was not my intention. My intention was like I had 1,000 followers at the time, and like the people who followed me, I was just trying to make content for those people because I'm like, I'm not here to get followers really or like do these things. And then I rebranded my page, so I was trying to just build up from that. So that's when I just said like, hey, like if you don't mind, like follow so that like I can keep making content like this.
Yeah.
When I said that, I meant maybe like thinking maybe 20 people would follow me. I did not expect to have it at a level where that video now almost has 2 million views.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that. So like did get a lot of comments of people being very judgy about my username. I'm like, but also it's catchy and it sounds good. Satanic Hispanic, like it sounds good.
Yeah.
So
Listen, unholy vibes. I mean,
right.
I've gotten on TikTok lives again, I'll go through and I'll stumble upon people reading scriptures or talking about whatever, right? And I remember this one lady saw me show up in her live and I was like, hey, have you ever seen a ghost? And she rebuked me and chastised me for having that name. And I'm like, I'm a Christian person. I consider myself protected in this space. Like, I'm not letting these things really affect me. And she was
Right.
like, well, regardless, that just wouldn't be me. I would not put that out there. I'm not unholy. And I was like, okay, hey, dude, chill. It's like, it's genuinely like, we're just here having a good time. But, okay, and I just moved on.
Yeah, that it was very much that. Like I had somebody I made a video about it because it got to the extent that I was like really getting annoyed that I don't know, like especially also when like you're making true crime content and you're talking about such sensitive topics. I don't know. I just feel like that's like not the place to be like commenting nasty stuff. And
It's always going to happen.
I had so many people be like, "Oh, well, clearly you don't have morals because your username, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Whoa, I'm just trying to tell you guys some scary stories. Like, why are we? Oh, it's not that deep.
Relax.
It's not that serious.
Yeah.
I promise."
People get so worked up about it. And it's like, we were just saying, like, the tenets of Satanism are, there's morals in it. People,
Mhm.
because of the satanic panic and because of Satanist versus like being satanic, I don't know. There's always someone giving them a bad name. Obviously, if you're a Christian person, your immediate reaction is, that's the devil, that's bad, which I get it. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But then there's like, they drink blood and eat babies, and it's like that's different than what we're talking about here. But sure, yeah, like whatever. And that's why that's just that snap reaction. So I get it, but also if they did like 2 seconds of research, you'd be like, oh, I don't think
Right.
she's eating babies, unless you are, then I don't know. It's on you.
Not hate to disappoint, but no.
Zero
Not
baby.
a no.
Yeah. You're like, I collect haunted dolls, bro.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
worst I've done. It's
yeah.
just my dog.
Yeah. Terrible. But no, I think that kind of stuff is funny. But no, I appreciate what you're doing and keep doing it. I want to
Thank you.
continue to hop in there and hear more people's stories and poach guests off of your lives. It's been great.
Yeah, and, like, it just worked out so well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we wrap up?
I think that was everything.
I feel good if you feel good.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I've loved your stories. I love the discussion. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for making the time and coming on the show.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you so much for having me.
yeah, I appreciate you. Everyone listening, be sure to check Frankie out on her TikTok and on her Instagram. I'll have her socials linked in the description. Give her some support, give her a follow. Join in on her lives. Turn on those notifications so you can join in on the lives and hear a lot of fun, spooky tales. Or actually, maybe don't, so that way I can go in there, invite them to be guests, and then you can hear it on the show.
Sure.
Do a little bit of both. No, it's really fun. It's really fascinating. Real quick, just some general housekeeping for everyone listening. You know me. I'm in it for the love of the game. I want you to tell me your story. So if you're listening, if you're first time, long time, whatever it may be, and you have a tale to tell, reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok at Unholy Vibes Pod, or you can email unholyvibespod@gmail.com. If you are too camera shy or you don't want to record, send in your story anonymously. I had one last season, an anonymous story that I told for the person. And since then, ever since that's become an option, I've had more and more people sending me stories. So feel free, email me your story or DM it to me. Someone wrote a freaking book in my DMs, but now I
That's
have a
so
great story to tell.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's also, like, very cool and inclusive of you. I love that. I love that you offer that option.
thank you. Again, it's selfish desires. I just love it. I love it for me. So, and the fact that I get to share it. So, yeah, feel free to submit your stories anonymously. Or if you know someone, if you're not the person with the story, put me in contact with them. I want to talk to them. If you've listened to the show at all, we we have a silly goose time. We just chit chat. It's just conversation, guys. So, I want to have you on. If you like the show, please share it with your loved ones or anyone, really. And be sure to like, subscribe, all that fun nonsense. Remember, as Herbini says, stay spooky, everyone. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time.
This has been, this has been, this has been Unholy Vibes. Stay spooky, stay spooky, stay spooky, spooky, spooky.